Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of StarCraft Inc. Today, something special. Myself on the ladder, not trolling. And this is a remarkable moment in time. This doesn't happen very often. So, pay attention. No. Okay, so in all seriousness, that's the word I was trying to get out of my mouth. My face orifice. No, in all seriousness, what this is going to be is just, I'm going to do one of each race. So, myself versus one of each race, just kind of show you how I play and what I think about when I'm against those races. And you guys can flame me for my bad decision making, or you can embrace me for my true heroism. But yeah, I don't cast myself very often, and I mean I have the channel. I might as well flaunt myself every once in a while. Now, my opponent's name is Tyler. He is the Red Terran. I can never remember what this map is called. There should be a box here that tells you what the name of the map is. It should be part of the interface. I truly believe that. So, first of all, guys, if you don't already know, on this map, you cannot spawn cross position. So if I'm here, he will never spawn above me. And if I'm here, he'll never spawn below me. You always spawn on the opposite side of the map in either the top or bottom position. So I did not scout this location, and that's why. So against Terran, you always want to try to harass the SCV. He's going to pull his SCV, and look what I've done right away. Look at, I've halted his barracks production, and it is being delayed. And his wall being right here tells me one thing right away. It's not at his main. He's walling off the natural. That means he's going to fast expand. That is what it's told me. Now that is an assumption. He could be faking me out. Even if you're not going to fast expand, putting a wall here is a great idea, because when you're ready to fast expand, you're already set up to do so. It's not quite as important with Terran because they can fly their buildings, or even if you're not going to fly your buildings, you can build new ones, right? So he realizes my probe's not doing anything. I forgot about that probe. Anyway, so because I saw that he was going to fast expand, I decided to fast expand myself. That was a 15 Nexus, by the way. That is a huge economical build, and when you do that, you've really got to make sure you're on top of your probe production. You've really got to make sure that you're pumping out probes, or you will lose the advantage that this gives you, and you'll be way behind an army. So he is producing Marines now. His expo isn't quite going down, and what you can do is, like I said, he could be faking me out. When I see this wall, it made me fast expand, but he could just not expand. He could attack me with a big force, but that's not going to be the case. He's going to try to come and harass me with 2 Marines. Now, I see a lot of Terran do this, and it's not really worth it, guys, because in all honesty, probes can kill these 2 Marines by themselves. Now, I don't know if I knew this was coming, but yeah, I think I was somewhat expecting it. Anyway, so against Terran, they like to do a lot of drops, a lot of Hellion harasses and stuff. So always be... yeah, they're just going to kite my Zealot. But I'm not going to let him go and commit suicide. I'm going to go with a couple of probes. But yeah, always be placing buildings around the corners so you can spot those drops, those Hellion harasses. Anyway, I wanted to get a surround on this, but he's just going to keep microing back. I do lose 1 probe. The problem with this is these probes aren't mining. I shouldn't have brought quite as many. I do split these 2 off because I'm going to plan on surrounding them. And I thought I had my Zealot selected here, but apparently I didn't. So I grabbed these 2. I went to grab these 2 and get a surround, but I didn't have these selected, and they didn't end up going at the right time. So my timing there was a little off. But my Zealot does get a swing in, which is very nice. And now he can't really fight me anymore unless he micros those separately, but I don't think he's got the APM for that. A cannon does go down in the meantime, and he can no longer pressure me like that. I am dropping my Cyber Core now after 2 gates. I do have a Forge, upgrading weapons 1, and this is kind of my transition. But what we are seeing here, and what you have to understand, is now that he's fast expanded, he's going to be spending a lot more money on SCVs. He shouldn't have them queued up like this, but he does, whatever. Sometimes that's a good feature. I mean, queuing is a feature. Queuing is a feature. And you might as well use it. If you're one of those people who forgets to build harvesters a lot, maybe that's an option for you until you can learn to remember. And it's good good habit to get into, to always be building. But he's not producing out of this one. He could do a transfer and start producing out of both. So it looks like Tyler's mechanics are a little bit rusty, or unrefined, I should say. If he had these both hotkeyed to the same hotkey, which I think he does now, yeah, he does now, he'd be able to produce out of both, get a good rally off. I don't know. Anyway, what you got to remember is he will be spending money on SCVs and will not be able to produce a lot of units. I mean, that goes without saying. That is the fundamental, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Yeah, it goes without saying, though. I mean, you fast expand, you sacrifice army. You one base it, you're going to have a big wicked army. But when you see your opponent fast expand, sometimes it's safer to just take your own expansion rather than trying to break them. Because, I mean, there's nothing wrong with me sitting back and macroing now. It's not dangerous for me because he can't possibly produce as much as I can, and I can't possibly produce like more than he can. So I mean, we're both at a standoff position, and that's a safe way to go, especially for Protoss, I would say, because we're really strong in the late game, whereas Terran is really strong in the early game against Protoss. So it's kind of silly for him to go into a macro face-off against me. He is getting these starports now. Once again, keep your things like supply depots, overlords, pylons in all the corners, just so you can get some nice view of your base. I do have the tower here, so I can see any troops that decide to come by on foot. And I am switching to Void Rays. And I know you say, oh, Void Rays against Marines, but the thing is, Void Rays create two-pronging opportunities. If I can come over here and harass with Void Rays, and his army is pulled from the front, then my ground forces can come here and do some damage to the front. Also, Void Rays are great against tanks. They're really good against Terran in general, because Terran in the midfield likes to spread their units out and do siege tank lines and things like that. And Void Rays are kind of the anti-positional tool. If they're trying to position you, the Void Rays are your answer. If they're trying to contain you, the Void Rays can go and harass their base, or attack to contain from behind, which isn't where they're expecting you to come from, so their siege tanks are vulnerable. And I really like them. They're good against any massive unit, so battle cruisers or Thors, whatever come out in the late game, Void Rays are really good against, so it's good to start accruing them early. My weapons one is finished. Armor one is now completed. I like to stay on top of my upgrades. Everybody should. It's never a wrong reason, especially in a macro game, to get upgrades. Very, very important. Very, very, very important. So my observer does come into the base. I do see a siege tank. Right away, I'm like, good. Void Rays, good decision. Absolutely perfect. I do see this third here. I know that he is about to take his third expo. He's morphing it into an orbital command before he lifts it off. Now, he should have built it over here. That's my opinion, because then it's closer to its destination and yet still safe because it's nestled into his natural. And I do see that his natural is not quite saturated yet. That was something else that I was told. And so I'm going to start my third. Well, I started my third before I saw that, but now I know that I can safely do this. I'm comfortable doing this, and I can commit to it full-heartedly. So I am going to move forward with my general strategy. I did see when I came through here this. I can't see that there's anything in them, but I saw no army and I saw lots of medevacs. So I thought that a drop was incoming, so I put my army here. However, when I saw the third, I was thinking that, okay, maybe his army is not in the medevacs, maybe it's pushing up to defend the third. And I did see some Reapers here. I didn't know where they were going. But it turns out they were going up here, and when I do see the first one, I do drop a pylon here, which I was going to do anyway. And I think the Reapers come and attack that. Are we going to see that? Yeah, here comes the first Reaper, joining his friends. He's going to attack this pylon, and that's when I noticed that the Reapers were there. And I did move my army out of position because I thought his army would be in the mid-ground. But I do warp in a wave of Stalkers. I did have cannons there, so I was pretty safe in that regard. The Stalkers will defend against the Reapers quite nicely. And yeah, they can't touch me anymore. And this drop does land, but I'm going to engage it. I'm going to drop some force fields, cut up the army a little bit to keep half of it out of range. Guardian Shield goes up to reduce range damage, and this is not a good situation for Tyler. Not all of his units got out of the medevacs either. And my wave of stalkers warps in, so that's good for me. And my Void Rays can't quite catch those medevacs, so that's not good. But now I do have that mobility I was talking about. I will be able to go and do some harassment with my Void Rays. However, there are more units in that medevac than I thought there were, and I won't be able to do much damage. And this was a misrally. I didn't know that that Void Ray was there, so I too make mistakes. I do have an observer in the third, so I will be able to watch for saturation here, but he's not using his energy or his harvesters there. I do get the engineering bay. I hope there was an upgrade in there. I don't know for sure that there was. Now, I made the poor decision to turn around and fight here. I did get a medevac and a marine, so it was an okay trade. He got a damaged Void Ray. Yeah, now, so I'm out here. My third is safe. Now, things to look at. What do we have? We have a starport, but it has a reactor, so I don't have to worry about Banshees out of that one. This one has a tech lab, but he knows Void Rays, so he's not going to go Banshees. When you're thinking about what your opponent's going to go, assume he's smart. Don't assume he's stupid. He's not going to go Banshees if I'm going heavy Void Ray count with Stalkers. Banshees would not be a good decision for him. And he is going Raven, so you have to take into account the Raven's abilities, right? I mean, Hunter Seeker Missile obviously is going to do damage, but you can't prevent that unless you're a Void. Like, you can micro away from it, but I mean, it doesn't affect your build at all, because Hunter Seeker Missiles just does straight up damage. The PDD, however, though, that stops Stalker fire. So when I saw that, I started to get Zealot Charge, because I don't want to rely on my Stalkers anymore. And Void Rays I don't have to worry about because they have a channel attack, and the PDD can't stop that. Also, I'm going to switch into High Templar because I'm spending a lot of my minerals. I didn't want to go DT. I'm spending a lot of my minerals on Zealots, so I can dump my gas into High Templar and make my Archons, which also can't be stopped by the PDD, and I can feedback. So feedback is now good on Thors again because Thor have the Hell's Bar. I will be dropping more production and taking my fourth quite aggressively. And I do have reasonably good saturation everywhere. Pretty happy with that. I'm not getting Storm right away because I really only want my Templar for the feedback and for Archons. I'm getting a few Immortals to tank the first wave of Siege Tank shells so that my army can get close. I will be building more, but apparently not right now. And still moving on my upgrades. I do want to keep up with him. I don't know what his are. He's got no upgrades for his vehicles. Does he have upgrades on his bio? He's got weapons 1 for his bio. So he is letting me sit back in macro, and that is not working for him at all. I'm going to go and drop pylons all over the map because why not? I'm Protoss, that's what we do. And it's going to help me not only spot things like the Reapers that move all over the map, it's going to help me spot medevac drops, but it'll also give me a chance to resupply my army if I choose to engage in the mid-ground, let's say right here. And it's not an easy pylon for him to find either. Also, if I warp in a single Zealot or even just use this probe here, I'll be able to spot if he tries to take this expansion here. So map control is important, and as you see I have pretty good map control. Going over to my view, I guess it's the same kind of view. He has no map control whatsoever, and that's hurting him so much, not to mention his poor economy. He's only on 2 base. He's trying to get this third going, but it's going to be really easy for me to attack, to harass. I do have units all over the fucking place, so I'm well guarded, very well guarded. I'm thinking ahead, getting detection behind my new mineral lines. If you have a remote expansion like this, you're gonna need static defense to defend it, or at least to buy you time in case a drop hits it for your army to get there. You don't need to expect these to win a fight, but your opponent will be shooting at those while your army is traveling. So think of it that way. A lot of people are upset that Marauders can wipe out cannons, but yes they can, but you're not expecting the cannon to win. They'll soften up the Marauders and give them something to shoot at that isn't your mineral line, and give your army time to get there. Hell, even if maybe if they see that, by the way, I did come in here with Zealots and kill his line, I missed that, sorry. So just distractions. But what that did was force a chunk of his army to come up and engage this command center. Now watch this. When he wants to go back home, I'm waiting for him. So this is not going to be a good moment for him. I knew he was there to protect his base, and here I go. I get right under those medevacs, and it's not a good day for Terran. Oh, that medevac with 1 health. I should have fed back those. I don't know. But this goes down very, very quickly. I do have weapons 1 on my air as well, so upgrades on my ground, 2-2 on my ground. Like that a lot. This is a pretty scary army, okay? At this point, there's not much you can do about it. I am saving up a bank on purpose because I am maxed. Once you are maxed, drop lots of production facility so that as soon as you trade armies with your opponent, you can remax. So I will be engaging here. Storm on the army, feedback on the Raven, feedback on the battle cruisers. Zealots get in front, Archons to take damage. Look at my positioning. Let's actually go back for a sec. This is one mistake that a lot of Protoss players make. I know this for a fact because I used to make it too. But just the positioning of my units. When I engage here, my Zealots are in front. They're the first thing to go in, okay? And a couple of them are caught in behind. So this is a mistake that I've made. Normally what I'll do is I'll blink back. I actually like to put my Stalkers in front to get the first shot off, and then I blink back and let the Zealots run through. However, I don't have blink this game, so my normal strategy isn't going to work for me. But what I should have done was had these Zealots out front. Always put your Zealots on the side of your army that you think the opponents will come from. So even if you're walking around in the mid-ground, if your opponents are up here, if you know that's where their army are, put your Zealots on that side, no matter what it is you're doing. If you're breaking some rocks, let the Stalkers shoot and put the Zealots just sitting there on the side that the army could approach on, because you don't want to get ambushed and have your Zealots on the wrong side. So I do get my Archons into position, and they do sit in front and take the damage. Storm goes down. Feedback does go down on these Thor eventually, I think. Maybe not. I just storm it instead. But he does have tanks up on the high ground, and I do bring my Void Rays over here to deal with that. So target priority is important. But anyway, long story short, there are tons of things you have to think about against a Terran player. First of all, account for their mules. At one point, I was like 10, 13 harvesters ahead of him, and he was still making more money than me, which is ridiculous, but I mean, it's a fact. So if he's on 2 bases, be well aware that a lot more minerals can come at you. So maybe even take a third. Aggressively take a third right away. Because with proper micro, you can deal with most defenses that come at you. DTs are good defense. Even though they have scan, a good Terran player is constantly spending his energy on his command center, so he won't have any energy to scan you. So if there are no Ravens, DTs are always a good option. Always, always, always a good option.